It's your boy AJ, and I got my lovely wife with me, and we're gonna be talking about Harry Potter today. We're gonna be talking about each film, and then we're gonna give our rankings. So, first off, I got into Harry Potter like in 2014, way late after all the movies were over. Not counting Fantastic Beasts, but yeah, she has been a fan ever since she was real little. She grew up on Harry Potter, so we're just gonna give like little tidbits on each film, and then we're gonna do our rankings. So you start off. We're gonna start off with the Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone, as I like to call it. We're gonna talk about the Sorcerer's Stone first. So, Staci.
All right. So, if you haven't watched Harry Potter, go watch Harry Potter. Okay? I grew up with these movies, and I grew up mainly on the books and then watched them turn into movies. And I love Harry Potter so much. Obviously, we have Harry Potter shirts on today. Our honeymoon, we went to Universal Orlando, okay? So
that was fun.
I am a Harry Potter stan, okay? I was way worse when I was a kid. Like, anytime somebody talked about Harry Potter, I would just go on and on about Harry Potter. Now I've chilled out a little bit. Okay. But Sorcerer's Stone, this is what I wrote
Philosopher's
down.
Stone.
Okay.
I'm talking about Philosopher's Stone.
I said my first bullet point. I try to be minimal on my bullet points because I got a lot to say. I said the Dursleys were awful. Why would Dumbledore and McGonagall leave him there?
Yeah, they were bad.
They left him in the cupboard. They were so mean to him. They were just the worst. Okay, my second point.
The worst.
Yes. He's only Harry Potter, the character, is only 11. He's so little.
So young.
So when you think about that in the context of the movie and what he's having to face, first of all, he's grown up his whole life thinking that he's just like not loved and he's a nobody. And then he finds out he's famous. His parents were killed by this evil wizard. He's a wizard. And he has to face the evil wizard who killed his family. It's crazy. So it's crazy to think about how little he is. And it's just so cute to look back and see like Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and Rupert Grant that small, but when I was a kid, that they were like the
about the same
ages.
age, yeah.
And then my last bullet point, because I really try to minimize my bullet points, was Professor Quirrell was the creepiest man.
So creepy. That's on one of my bullet points too.
And he was just like, I just really didn't like him. But overall, this movie is like nostalgia heaven for me. Every time I watch this movie, like, it makes me want to cry. It makes me happy. I just love it.
All right. So what I have written down, the very first scene is like, it's huge because you see Professor McGonagall and you see Dumbledore going up to the steps, and you see Hagrid. He comes flying down on the bike, has his baby in his arms. That's the future right there. Like, and it's like it's real powerful. It's like big. And then what else do I have written down? Really, this movie, for me, it's just basically like setting up all the characters and setting up the tone for the rest of the films. It's honestly not a whole lot going on in the film, but it's like, I know for her, it's like the nostalgia of it, but I got into it like later in life, so I never really like felt that feeling when I was young. So I feel like this is more just of a setup film, and it's not really like heavy hitting like the rest of the films that we're gonna get into. Towards the end of the film with Ron in the wizard's chest, that was dope. Like, and also I was thinking, like, if you're a kid and you're watching that and you don't know how to play chess, you would not really understand that scene. But like, since I've gotten older and since I know like how to play chess now, I'm like, this is awesome. So like, wizard's chess was cool. And I have to admit, the last scene when Dumbledore is awarding the house points at the end, like, that is very, very heartwarming. So That's dope. So that's all I have to say about Sorcerer's Stone. Moving on to Chamber of Secrets.
Chamber of Secrets.
Okay, you go ahead. I don't have a lot written down for this one.
Okay. So, this is the second movie, okay? Just establishing. We're not going into ranking yet, okay?
Not yet.
So, the movie opens up and Harry has a room in the Dursleys' house. Ayo, graduated. But the Dursleys are having a dinner party and they're like...
Isn't it under the stairs?
That's where he was in the first movie.
Oh.
So now he has a real room. Okay, anyway.
No, wait. It's under the stairs because, what's his name was jumping on the stairs. He's saying, "Wake up, cousin."
No, that was the first movie.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Okay, anyway.
My bad.
So he has a room. He's graduated, right? Okay, so he got a...
This graduation.
And
Gosh.
then... So they're having a dinner party, and they still treat Harry bad, even though they gave him a room. The Dursleys
They're not gonna
just
change
treat
that.
him like trash. But he's supposed to be like really quiet during this dinner party, and then this house elf shows up, Dobby, just my heart, and is being a menace and is like, "You can't go back to Hogwarts." And Harry's like, "Hogwarts is my home. I hate this place. I'm going back to Hogwarts, and you can't convince me otherwise." So we're introduced to Dobby, we're introduced to house elves and all that. So the Weasleys actually come and rescue Harry, and the Weasleys are the best family in the Harry Potter universe, okay? The way they
Facts.
embrace other people, the way they let Hermione and Harry come in, they don't
Facts.
care if you're pure blood, mud blood, any other kind of blood, they just love people, and they're so nice. We're also introduced to Professor Lockhart. He's the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. Everybody thinks he's like this really great wizard. You come to find out he's not.
You're fake, Lockhart.
And a lot of people think he's attractive, but I don't think he is. But maybe that's because I watched this movie when I was a child.
Those little girls they were like, huh.
No.
Like, so this old man, he was old.
Yeah. And then, like, later in the movie, Harry keeps hearing, like, these voices, and nobody else can hear them. And so then he finds out he can talk to snakes, and he can understand their language. And he's like, not everybody can do that. And everybody's like, no. And Harry's like, great, I'm different again. First of all, I'm the boy who survived the death curse, and now I can talk to snakes. What the heck is going on?
Well, he did in the first one, too.
Yeah, but he didn't know that was different.
He didn't know, yeah. He
Yeah.
thought that it was pretty normal for wizards.
Yeah. And then, like, one other fact I put in there was I wanted to talk about Moaning Myrtle and how the fact that actress is, like, 30 years old.
Really so weird.
And, I don't know, Chamber of Secrets had a lot of cool parts with Polyjuice Potion and, just kind of getting deeper into who Voldemort was.
I don't have a lot written for this one, like I said. I have 2 bullet points, and you covered both.
Okay.
I said, the Dursleys didn't learn their lesson. They're still awful. And we're introduced to Dobby. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about Chamber of Secrets. It was cool. It was a cool movie.
Okay.
I say that.
Moving on to the third.
Yeah.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
All right, let me go first this time. I'm going to go first on Prisoner of Azkaban. Okay. Number one, I feel like this movie was a little all over the place. It didn't really have a clear objective. Like, it had, like, tones and, like, different aspects to the film, but it wasn't, like, a straight and narrow plot line. You do not feel the same way? Okay, I'm gonna finish. Also, Buckbeak is cool. I like Buckbeak, the hippogriff. Oh, Hermione punches Malfoy. That was dope. And we saw it twice. That was cool. And you said Professor Lupin is your favorite Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher?
Yeah, he's the best one.
He alright.
Name a better one.
Snape?
No, Snape does it for 1 year, and we hardly see any of it.
That's true.
Lupin actually, like, shows the kids, like, different techniques, and he actually shows them, like, spells. Like, some of the other teachers don't even do that. Like, Lockhart, he literally, like, just set a bunch of pixies on them, and he was like, you just figure it out.
You fake, Lockhart.
And Umbridge didn't even let them use magic. You know,
we're not talking about Umbridge yet. We're gonna get to Umbridge.
He was the best one.
Yeah, I guess I see where you're coming from. I think I just like the character Snape a lot more, and I liked Lupin more when he wasn't the defense of against the dark arts teacher. I liked him more in Deathly Hallows Part 2. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What else am I saying about that? Oh yeah, Peter Pettigrew as Scabbers or Wormtail. That was a huge plot twist. Like, and seeing it for the first time, I was just like, what? Scabbers? Peter Pettigrew? What? So that's all I have to say about Prisoner of Azkaban. What do you have to say?
Okay. AJ didn't read the books, okay?
I didn't read the books. That's one thing.
As someone who did read the books, this is the best movie adaptation, okay? Facts.
Okay.
They have the cinematography in this movie. Beautiful, wonderful, wondrous. Puts you in that universe.
It's pretty good.
We also start getting into that teenage angst. You know, there's some sass going on. Yeah. There's crushes, and you know, Ron and Hermione hold hands.
Whoa. Game changer.
So we start getting into that. Also, there's, like, I feel like this movie is a really good interpretation of dark and light as far as the Harry Potter universe goes. Like, we're getting deeper into the evil magic, right? We're learning about Death Eaters. Like, Harry is really affected by Death Eaters, and why does this affect him so much? And then we're also learning more about who was involved in killing Harry's parents. But also there's really light moments, like when Harry is riding Buckbeak over the water. Of course, the classic Freeform. Woohoo! Yeah,
Freeform, ABC Family.
Harry Potter movie.
Yeah.
That's what they used to show all the time. Also, there's just, like, fun, you know, there's, like, Quidditch, and, you know, you get to see the friendships, and I think it's really cool. You get to see more of, like, the human side of everyone rather than just, like, darkness the whole movie. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that one. One of my favorite things about this movie is the time turner and then having to go back and then reset everything up. I thought that was an awesome idea. I really was invested in the story.
You're invested in all the stories.
I'm invested in the whole series.
Okay, Goblet of Fire. Moving on. No Dursleys. And I feel like this was the perfect movie to stop showing the Dursleys so much, like, at the beginning of each film, because it was just kind of getting a little tired. I was like, okay, I get it. Dursleys are terrible. And so also we meet Barty Crouch Jr., played by David Tennant, aka the Doctor, our 10th Doctor, and I thought it was funny because they held the Quidditch World Cup, and the tent that they stayed in was bigger on the inside, like the TARDIS. Did you make that correlation?
I did not make that correlation.
I did.
But big Doctor Who fan.
Yes, I love Doctor Who. Anyway, and we also meet Cedric Diggory in this film, played by Robert Pattinson, and I really enjoyed his character. I didn't know if I was going to enjoy this character as much because when I watched it, it was after Twilight came out, and I'm like, Twilight, whatever. And Robert Pattinson's character was pretty cool, and I kind of wish that we saw Cedric Diggory, like, do some more things. I wish he didn't. His demise wasn't so soon. I wish we could have seen him at the Battle of Hogwarts. That would have been cool to see what he did and how he added to the group. And that's all I have.
He was good for the time we had him because they used him as inspiration to form Dumbledore's army later.
They could have used something else
him
too.
As inspiration.
They could use anything for inspiration. But
all right, so when I wrote about Goblet of Fire, we're introduced to the idea that there's other wizarding schools because in the universe we're only aware of Hogwarts, but we're introduced to Victor Crumb's school, Fleur Delacour's school, Beau Batten, and I forget the other name of the school. I'm so sorry.
I thought you were a fan.
Also, I am a fan, but not that deep anymore. You know, I'm getting old. These brain
Turns
cells.
26 yesterday.
Yeah. So also one thing I wrote, like, we're introduced to this idea of like this championship and how only 17-year-olds are allowed to participate because they're really dangerous tasks. You could die because as you watch the movie, these are crazy. They're fighting dragons. They're having to go underwater for an hour and rescue someone from mer people. And they're going into this maze that has a lot of things that could trick people.
Some heavy stuff. And
Harry in this movie is only 14, and he's going against all these other 17-year-olds to try and win the Triwizard Cup, which is just crazy to think about. I think sometimes when you watch these movies, you forget how young Harry is supposed to be. So I really try and focus on, he's only 14. And I was a freshman in high school in 14. I was worrying about, like, what color my eyeshadow was. You know, I wasn't worried about
dragons.
And also, there's a lot of, like, more angst in this one with, like, boyfriends and girlfriends. They have the Yuletide ball, and Ron and Harry are trying to find dates. And Ron kind of does Hermione dirty. He asks her very last minute, and then he gets mad at her for going out with Victor Crumb. Whatever, Ron, you missed your chance. But it's kind of fun to see them participate in school activities.
Yeah,
also,
cool.
You just kind of get different perspective as far as that. One thing I wrote is Dumbledore was very extra in this movie. He was just like seemed angry the whole movie.
He didn't seem like he was like the other movies. It felt like he would change his personality or something. He was like more irritated or agitated or something. I don't know. That was weird.
And the first two movies had a different actor than Prisoner of Azkaban and Goblet of Fire. I felt like in Prisoner of Azkaban he was totally fine, but Goblet of Fire he just seemed really extra, and he was like in the book. There's one instance where he pulls out Harry's name from the cup, and he's like Harry Potter, but in the movie he's like, Harry Potter, did you put your name in here? And it's like, okay, Dumbledore doesn't
grabs him.
Dumbledore doesn't really act like that, so it was kind of weird to see that. And then the end of that movie, we actually see Voldemort return. So
that was crazy.
It really, the end of that. Whereas the other movies, they've always had kind of like a happy ending. Sorta. This one kind of had a very dark ending with Cedric dying and Voldemort returning. I know. His dad was so sad.
I feel like they did Cedric dirty too, because I feel like he should have been able to fight for his life a little bit more. He just like Vada Kedavra, and then he's dead. Like that's crazy. Like I feel like he should have been able to fight back a little bit, but I don't know. They did him kind of dirty.
All right.
So the next one. Order of the Phoenix. It's my favorite one. For multiple reasons, and I'm going to get into those now. So, number one, I really enjoy the cinematography and the effects in this film are like, I feel like they're more, like they're better than the other ones, like than the previous ones that came before this. Like this is when we started to see the camera effects and the special effects like get a lot better quality. Because these are 2000s movies, like these came out early 2000s, so like technology wasn't like there yet. But this is like when we're starting to see like a lot more action and a lot more special effects. We did see some special effects in the last one with Voldemort and Harry, and they battled it out at the cemetery. But this one we see a lot more, and then. So, introduced to my favorite character, Bellatrix Lestrange. Yeah. Bellatrix Lestrange, that's my favorite character. Couldn't really tell you why. She's crazy, but I love her. And we saw Sirius Black in action. We saw Sirius Black do some things in, what was the film? Prisoner of Azkaban. And he became like the dog or whatever and fought Lupin and all that. But I feel like this one we actually seen like his wizarding skills. We seen what he could do. And I don't know, like, I also feel like they did him dirty with killing him so quick. I just feel like some of these wizards should have had a longer story. We should have seen them like do more than they did.
J.K. Rowling just loves to kill her character.
Like, she loves to kill the character. Like, okay, I'm cool with some of them, but like Sirius Black, he had a lot. I feel like he had a lot more to prove, a lot more to show. And that's why I feel like we should have a prequel series on Netflix. Come on, everybody, let's get that going.
Because then J.K. Rowling is going to ruin more of her characters, so we don't need to see that.
Yeah.
Because she just keeps talking out of wherever. I respect the Harry Potter series, but now she just keeps adding extra stuff, and it just annoys me.
I just want to see, like, more of the characters that we know, but, like, I want to see more of...
Read the books. There's more detail in there.
No. I want to see it. I want to visualize it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. So
my talking.
I'm not done.
Okay.
Voldemort gets owned in the end of this movie, and I love that. And Professor Umbridge is like my favorite villain. I like her more than Voldemort. Unpopular opinion. I like her as a villain more.
Okay.
Not as a character more.
So what did I write about Order of the Phoenix? So basically, like, Harry might get expelled at the beginning, so they have to go to the Ministry and kind of get that all figured out, because he saw some Dementors in his neighborhood and he saved his cousin from getting his soul sucked out of his body. And the Ministry was like, "You're doing underage magic." Like, "Sir, I am trying to help people here." Okay. Anyway, we're also introduced to the actual Order of the Phoenix and those different characters. One of my favorites in the book was Tonks. In the movie, I felt like she was cool too. Like, we get to see like kind of the weird faces she can do and just get introduced to her as a person.
I feel like Tonks was underused.
Yeah. Then we're also introduced to Luna Lovegood. And she can also see some of the stuff Harry has seen just because they've seen so much death in their life with the Thestrals. Also, she's just kind of like a goofy, fun character.
Harry Potter.
Yeah,
I'm Luna Lovegood.
Oh my god. We're also I put Professor Umbridge as the worst because she's literally injuring
She's
her
the worst.
students.
She is the worst. That's why I like her as a villain.
She's like cutting their hands by making them right. It's crazy. We're also introduced to the Weasleys' business. They go into like making like fun pranks and stuff, and then they use that to get out. They're like, "School's not for us, so we're just gonna leave." Also, Cho and Harry get together, some boyfriend-girlfriend stuff. Yeah, which, I mean, that's cool. And they kiss, in the context of that, they're like in Dumbledore's army, which Harry and Ron and Hermione start in order to teach themselves magic, because Professor Umbridge is not even letting them use their wands in class, so they have to learn how to do stuff themselves. So that's kind of fun to see Harry and Cho get together. I always liked them. And then the end, they go to the Ministry to find the prophecy, which I just don't like that plot line. I don't understand it, really. And Sirius dies, which is very sucks for Harry because Harry was going to go live with him. And that's his godfather.
Too good to be true.
It's just like the worst. And then we have another bad, it's sad ending. Okay.
It wasn't that bad, was it? No, I feel like it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as Cedric.
I think it was worse than Cedric dying. Sirius dying? Okay, anyway. So that was the Order of the Phoenix. A fun fact, my cat's name is Phoenix, but not because of this book, but because of the first, when we're introduced to Fox the Phoenix in Chamber of Secrets. That's why I named my cat Phoenix.
Oh.
We
All
can
right.
cut that.
Yeah. Okay. So Half-Blood Prince. The majority of this movie to me was boring as heck. I think it was just very slow, not a whole lot going on. But I love Bellatrix scenes though. My little arsonist. She burned down 2 houses in that movie, didn't she? Yeah. Yep. And they tried to force this Ginny and Harry garbage. Like, they forced it so much in this film. Like, they didn't have any chemistry before this movie. And then they kind of, okay, they had like a little bit of chemistry in Chamber of Secrets. That was it.
And no, they did in Goblet of Fire too, at the beginning.
Man, you call that... No. I feel like this was forced. I feel like this was very forced. And I don't like Harry and Ginny together. It's just weird to me.
He also doesn't like Ron and Hermione, so don't listen
Okay,
to him.
Ron and Hermione I can understand more than Ginny and Harry.
I mean, it is... Okay, in the books it's more in-depth, but in the movies, yeah, it does seem like a little fast. And I don't know,
quick.
maybe the... acting wasn't all the way there.
That might have been it too.
Okay.
Because these weren't.
I have to say.
I'm not gonna get into that.
That this was my favorite Harry Potter book. Okay. And my least favorite movie adaptation. Because in the book they go so much more into detail and they just really get in there and it's like really serious and we kind of like learn more about the characters. And I feel like the movie, I don't know, it wasn't as like serious. It wasn't, I don't know, there was a disconnect. We're introduced to Professor Slughorn, who we do see at the Battle of Hogwarts, and we're introduced to the idea that Draco is now a Death Eater and that he has a mission. And so throughout the movie, you don't really know what he's doing until the end, and his mission is to kill Dumbledore. And if he doesn't kill Dumbledore, then Snape has to. We're also introduced to the idea of Horcruxes and what Horcruxes are, and how it's bits of Voldemort's soul in different objects so that he can live longer, which is a really crazy concept. Also, we get more of that dating life. Hey, so Harry likes Ginny, but Ginny is dating Dean, and Dean and Ginny fight all the time. But then towards the end of the movie, like Dean and Ginny, they do kiss in the Room of Requirement, which is pretty cool. And then Hermione likes Ron, but Ron is dating Lavender. And Lavender is like the worst.
I like Lavender. She's got spunk.
Okay. So
Unpopular opinion.
You kind of see that more teenage angst.
I feel like they wrote that character so you would not like her, Lavender.
I guess.
I think that was the point.
In the Battle of Hogwarts.
That was kind of crazy. Like you said that. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Until this time around.
Yeah.
We've seen these movies. I've seen these movies a lot. She's seen them a whole lot. So I guess we're moving on to Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Yes.
Whoa.
First of all, they split up the last book into 2 movies. So, it's a big book. So, I understand why they split it up. I wish they had done it differently, because ultimately these movies are not really my favorite. I felt like they kind of did a disservice. So, in Deathly Hallows Part 1, a whole bunch of people die. Hedwig, Harry's owl, dies.
And I didn't know Hedwig was a girl until this time around. I had no clue.
I don't see why that's important. But
I know it's not, but it's just like kind of crazy because I always thought Hedwig was a boy. So.
Mad-Eye Moody dies. I feel like we should have got more of his character as well. And at the end, closer to the end of the movie, Dobby dies.
Oh, Dobby. Dang, that was crazy.
And he really sacrificed his life for everybody else. Mm-hmm. So it was.
I wish they would have shown Dobby more. They didn't. This is the second movie that they showed him in. I think he was only in Chamber Secrets. No.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chamber of Secrets. I think he was only in Chamber of Secrets in this movie.
Yeah. And this movie is kind of slower because they do show them hunting for the Horcruxes.
Bro, slow.
But it's kind of like cool to see them going to all the different places and trying to find the Horcruxes. And they're showing what happened in the book, which is, like I said, it's a big book, so you can get all those sections. Also, we're introduced to the idea of the 3 things that can overrule death. So we're introduced to the idea of the cloak, the ring, and the wand.
Deathly Hallows.
And Harry already has the cloak, so he's up on one.
Yep, got a head start.
But it's not his goal to get the 3, it's Voldemort's goal, so we can kind of understand what Voldemort is going after at this point. Because he thinks that he needs all 3 of those to defeat Harry, while Harry is actually trying to hunt down the Horcruxes.
Right, so you can kill Voldemort.
So it's kind of interesting to see that all shake out. Also, like, Hogwarts, you don't get a lot of that during the movie. And
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. You can go ahead and...
I was just going to say, like, yeah, since they are searching for the Horcruxes throughout pretty much the whole movie, Hogwarts is, like, basically on the back burner. They barely show... it's not really a main focus. Hogwarts is not main focus. I think that was, like... This is the only film where Hogwarts wasn't, like, the background of the whole film, basically. Oh, yeah, we see my favorite villain, Professor Umbridge, again. She shows back up.
Yay. Oh, this, so for...
Yeah, that's the next one.
Deathly Hallows Part 2. Basically, they finish finding the Horcruxes. Neville is the hero we deserve. We've been rooting for him since the beginning. Go Neville. Battle at Hogwarts. There's so many deaths. I can't even mention them all. One that really stuck out to me was Tonks and Lupin together. That was really sad. Fred died. So that was really sad.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was just a lot going on as far as, like, the battle. And I felt like sometimes during the battle, they were trying to put humor in where it shouldn't have been in. Like, McGonagall being like, I've always wanted to use that spell. Girl, you're about to die.
Yeah, I think they tried to, like, kind of balance it. Try to balance it out, because it was, like, intense.
Yeah. And then we kind of learn that Snape is not as bad as he might have seemed. I don't really know how I feel about that all the time, because he was just so mean to Harry.
But he wasn't never evil.
Yeah, but it's kind of nice to see him kind of have, like, that redemption story as far as that. We learned that Harry Potter is a Horcrux. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And that explains why he's parcel tongue. That explains why he can see into Voldemort's mind and why Voldemort can see into his mind. But guess what? Just because he's a Horcrux doesn't mean he's dead. So he comes back and then he fights Voldemort. And then
that was a plot hole.
And then Voldemort died.
That was a plot hole, because he really shouldn't have came back to life after that.
Yeah, because it wasn't him dying. It was just part of Voldemort's soul dying.
Yeah, I think that was... No. I'm not buying it. I feel like the hardcore Harry Potter fans are like, this is what happened, but I'm not buying it.
Whatever. He's alive, and that's all that matters. And then so basically that whole movie is like the Battle of Hogwarts, also finding the rest of the Horcruxes. It's kind of a dark movie overall.
I feel like, yeah.
But there is a happy ending, of course. So
Happy
we get
ending.
to see 19 years later, all is well. We get to see Harry and Ginny and their 300 million children. And then we get to see Ron and Hermione and their kids. And then we also get to see Draco and his kid.
Yeah,
so that's...
Like, why are we cool with Draco now? Like, I feel like we're cool with Draco after all that. No.
J.K. Rowling didn't like Draco, okay? And she did him dirty because he was just a kid and, like, he was just doing what his parents have taught him.
Yeah.
But he really did have, like, a lot of redeeming things, like, towards the end, I think.
Yeah, and she could have turned him all the way around, but she didn't. Right. She decided to make him bad, and then like the 19 years later thing,
he was just chilling.
It was just chilling. Like I'm like, why? Why are we forgiving him right now? But anyway, she pretty much covered everything I was gonna say about Deathly Hallows Part 2. I really enjoyed Deathly Hallows Part 2. It had a lot of action, and that's what I love. I love a lot of action. Mm-hmm. My boo dies, Bellatrix.
Good.
And I feel like she could have fought a little bit more too. And she gets killed by Molly.
Good for Molly.
Molly. Yeah, like, how? She's like supposed to be like so powerful. She's supposed to be a force to be reckoned with. And she gets killed by Molly.
She got too cocky.
Yeah, I guess so. But that's still like, nah. But anyway, and the last thing I have to say about this film, Neville killing Nagini was crazy. That was probably the dopest part of the whole film for me. I really enjoyed that part.
That was really cool.
That was dope.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Voldemort kicks the bucket.
Rankings.
Yep. So we're gonna rank them now.
You can go first.
Okay. Number 1, like I said, The Order of the Phoenix, and then Deathly Hallows Part 2, Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, Chamber of Secrets, Half-Blood Prince, Sorcerer's Stone.
Sorcerer's Stone so well.
And Deathly Hallows Part 1. Sorcerer's Stone was just a setup movie for me.
Wow. Okay. His ranking doesn't matter, okay?
My ranking probably it doesn't have as much emotion and heart put into it because I didn't grow up with it. But I do enjoy these films. But she had probably had a lot harder time ranking these films.
First of all, you're all my children, and I don't want to pick favorites. Second of all, I'm sorry. And these rankings change all the time, you know, as you continue your life with Harry Potter, okay? My favorite, Prisoner of Azkaban, I mean, I could just watch that movie over and over again, never get tired of it. It's just one of my favorites. Second, Sorcerer's Stone, because the nostalgia, we're introduced to the world, it's just great. Okay, and then I put Goblet of Fire, number 3, Chamber of Secrets, number 4, Order of Phoenix, number 5, and then I did Part 2 for 6, Part 1 for 7, and then Half-Blood Prince last, because don't mess with the book, okay?
Wow.
So we have very different rankings.
Very different rankings. Another very huge Harry Potter fan that I know is my cousin Mallory, and we're actually going to talk to her about her rankings right now. We got Mallory here, and we're going to talk about Harry Potter. We're going to talk about like her favorites and just like kind of tidbits that she enjoyed about them. So starting with Sorcerer's Stone.
All right. So I actually did come up with a ranking for these.
Okay.
Got my handy dandy notebook out.
No.
Out of the 8, I ranked Sorcerer's Stone as 5th. So I mean, I think that's higher than most given like the quality. You know what I mean? Like what, 2001, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, early 2000s.
It's a little rough to watch sometimes, but
I agree.
It was pretty good. I think I just liked how the story starts out, and it really just draws you in. Chamber of Secrets, I ranked 7th, and I mean,
Woo!
I know. I mean, one of them has to be 7th, right? Like something has to be the 7th.
That's true. That's fact.
It just wasn't. I think I thought it was a little cheesy. You don't. Even though it's very important to the storyline overall, because it's like, you know, even in Deathly Hallows Part 2, they draw back to that basilisk hang and stuff. So
the Horcrux.
It's important. But I just think as a movie itself, it's kind of slow. Again, with that like early 2000s, it's pretty cheesy. Which I mean, what can you expect? So it's
right. That's true.
It's the nostalgia.
She's taking some hits over here.
No, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Speak your truth.
For Prisoner of Azkaban, I did 6.
Okay.
I just
Reasonings.
Just because, okay, so I thought it was really cool the like time travel aspects, like, and you start to, that's kind of where it like takes off for me. Like, I just think in general, Prisoner of Azkaban is when things start getting like a little more like Harry, Hermione, and Ron are on this like quest, and that's where it all starts, I think, because they can kind of go off and do their own missions and stuff. I think they're just a little too young in the first two movies for that, but I still like Sorcerer's Stone better, I think, just because it's like really just draws you in.
Yeah, it's the setup of it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's the beginnings.
All right, Goblet of Fire.
Okay.
Number 2.
Wow.
The
It's
second best.
because Cedric. It's because of Cedric.
It is Cedric. No. No, it's just I think I really like the aspect, like the games in general. Like I think those are really, it's cool to see like the other schools, because you don't hear about that a lot. We're all so like dialed into Hogwarts. Also just like it creates a story more like, okay, Harry actually is the chosen one in like a lot of different ways. When you start to see that, before it's kind of like, okay, like what's so special about this guy? And especially there in the graveyard at the end of Goblet of Fire when Harry's there with, that's an intense scene, you know?
That's very intense. Very intense.
Yeah. So, yeah, number 2. It's a great film. That's one I could just watch all the time. Like, I feel like with, like, the ones before, it's like, I have to be in a marathon, but if Goblet of Fire was just I could just turn it on and watch it, you know?
Hers is Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, really?
That's the one she can watch over and over.
Yeah. Goblet of Fire was my number 3rd, though.
Oh, okay. So you know.
Yeah, so not that bad. What do you think about Order of the Phoenix?
That one, number 8.
Oh, that's AJ's favorite.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
Oh my god.
That one was slow for me too. I put it at 5.
I guess I'm not true.
I dread watching that one. Like, even now.
Really?
Huh? Yeah.
Really?
I was like, we should just skip it.
She was like, nope, don't
Like,
watch.
What?
Because it's just boring to me. The story doesn't go as far as it should. I will say though, and I've always thought it was my least favorite, but rewatching the series, I was like, it's not as bad as I thought, but it's still pretty bad.
Yeah. None of them are terrible.
No. You're right. None of them are terrible. They're all watchable for sure, but yeah, Order of the Phoenix just does not do it for me.
Same.
Wow.
There's a lot of mistakes, and yeah, I don't know. My number 1 though is Half-Blood Prince. That's
her least. That's her least.
Mallory. I need you to read the book.
Okay, let's get to the reasoning. What's the reasoning?
Why is that your favorite?
I love how, okay, so all the way leading up, you know, it's kind of like cheerful. They're young wizards and witches and just learning and stuff. And then you get to Half-Blood Prince, and it just takes a dark turn, and you really start getting that dramatic storyline. And I just, I love Half-Blood Prince.
Facts though.
I mean, yes, big facts right there. It's just the worst book to movie adaptation.
That's
really?
what she's going off of. That's what she's going off of. She's going off the books.
Yeah.
I haven't read the books.
Okay.
No.
We both need to read the books, it sounds like, because
he read that. He ranked that. Where'd you rank that?
What, Half-Blood Prince?
Yeah. Oh, he ranked
third to last, 6th.
Wow, Mallory. It's because you like that romance. You like Ron and Lavender, Hermione circle. You like.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember that.
It did take me a while to recollect that, but yeah, that's kind of fun. Yeah, because they're all like getting like older and stuff. I really like Harry's relationship with Professor Slughorn, because
Slughorn is so boring to me though.
He's interesting. I think
he's so like, he talks so slow and monotone.
I know, he's kind of like an old man in like a cute way. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe it's a woman thing.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Also, wait.
Not to be misogynist, right?
Okay. I know. I'm just
anyway, let's move on.
What do you think about Deathly Hallows Part 1?
That one for me. Wait, do I have my numbers on? Okay, that is.
At the end, just give the 1 through 8.
Okay, got you. That's number 4 for me. Really good. It's just kind of depressing.
Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Yeah, when they're passing
Yeah.
trucks
Yeah.
each other, and Ron and Harry fight because Ron's like, "Why are we even doing this? I thought you knew what you were doing and stuff." And
That's because he had that locket on, though. That had to be because of that.
I think it's partly that, and then just partly, in general, but it's a really good film. It's really sad. Dobby dies.
Dobby dies at the very end.
Yeah, at the very end.
R.I.P.
Hedwig dies.
She said, more importantly,
I almost forgot about that, and we were just watching it, and I was like, oh my, it shocked me because I remembered that she died, and I was like, this is sad.
Yeah.
Part 2 is also very sad, but I rank that as number 3 because it's just a good end note. It's I don't know, it's hopeful there right at the end. They're sending their kids off to Hogwarts, but Harry goes through a lot in that movie. He realizes he has to die. I know
the exception of that was heavy. The way
what?
he accepted that.
Oh yeah, he was like,
he had to die. That was heavy.
Yeah, exactly. That was crazy. I like that he gets to talk to Dumbledore a little bit there. But there's a lot of death in that movie. Like, the twin die. One of the twins dies. That one school died. I mean,
Lupin and Tonks.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's a rough one because like you think about like everyone who's like Harry's being kind of selfish right now because he could just go die and we wouldn't have to deal with this. But they're there for the cause,
Yeah. They knew what they were getting themselves into. In order, just kind of like do your rankings in order right now. Yeah, like this. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom.
Are we ready? Okay, so number 1, Half-Blood Prince. We love it. It's dark. Number 2 is Goblet of Fire. Super interesting. Those games are crazy. Number 3 is Deathly Hallows Part 2. Great ending. 4, Deathly Hallows Part 1. Sad, but also has to happen. 5, Sorcerer's Stone. Started it off, really strong. 6, Prisoner of Azkaban. Time travel's interesting.
Yes.
7, Chamber of Secrets. Really cheesy, very young. And then 8, Order of the Phoenix.
That's okay.
Last thing I want to talk to you about before we go. So when Voldemort dies, what is the cause of that? This is kind of a little debate between me and Staci right now.
I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I was thinking about this. So it's difficult to say though because Neville kills Nagini, and that is kind of after that, because he and Harry are doing their wand, and so yes, and so after that though, Nagini is also slayed or whatever. And then is when like Voldemort starts deteriorating.
Right.
And I think it has to do more so with the snake than the wands, which makes me think that the Horcruxes are what were keeping them together, and then he was kind of like a shell, like a figure, like an empty thing.
Yeah, I think it has to do. I think the Horcruxes did take part in it, but the fact that he was still using the Elder Wand that belonged to Harry, and then I think the spell backfired on him. That's what
she thinks. She thinks the spell backfired on him, but I say Neville killed Voldemort, basically. Mind blown, right?
Because he didn't take down any of the other Horcruxes.
Harry took all the credit.
Wow, that is a very strong statement.
Harry took all the credit, and Neville is the hero. Okay. It's been an awesome interview. Thank you for taking the time out to talk to us about Harry Potter, some nerd stuff. But all right, we'll see you later.
Bye.
So all the Harry Potter fans out there, hit me down in the comments. Let me know what your ranking is. Check out my merch, and I'll put that down in the description, a link down in the description for that. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.